girl, this raggedy pillow, you just
I
won't
love
let
the
go.
but no, don't cover it up.
Don't come.
Show this.
I want to throw that pillow. I almost got rid of it, and then I said, Taylor, look, not me still with the tag on the pillow. And does this look okay? We're not like staring at each other down our throats. I'm not looking at your uvula as you talk. Al, do you know what we do? How we start this?
No, I forgot. No, it's okay.
We'll find out.
Hey, girl.
Welcome back to
How Did I Get Here?
That's Taylor.
And that's Abby.
So basically, we were struggling to come up with what to talk about. And thus far, it'll be fun to look back at this video because now the highest view count we currently have is on our previous video about fasting, and it was at this point it was just over 100 views is what it was. Yeah.
Pop the bottle.
Effects, sound effects, yeah. So it'll be fun one day to look back at that and see.
Yeah.
But we were struggling to come up with a topic of what to talk about after that. And so I was thinking about it, and I was telling I sent Taylor a message, and that's why I'm looking at my phone to remember what I said we should talk about, which was just our disappointments and just how we felt. Just like let's scratch the word disappointments. Just in general, how we've overall felt since doing the fast. And learning, as Taylor has put it, like to be content, but yet not like being indifferent, but content at the same time.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, just like waiting on God's timing, because it's been a struggle. It's weird because when you fast, you do it for obedience purposes, but at the same time, God does say goodness will come out of it. But then you're kind of realizing that you have to let go and let Him do it His way.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of sitting here like this with our hands folded, just waiting on God.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I don't even know if that made sense, how I just tried to summarize what we're talking about.
It definitely did. I think in our last video too, I realized that you were saying like some of the things you were looking for is like more of like goal oriented and positive, where for me, when I'm obeying, it's almost like a child, like, okay, I obeyed, so that means I'm not going to get in trouble or nothing negative is going to happen. So for me, I look for like negative things to be avoided if I obey and fast, which I shouldn't do that either. But I do go towards like, okay, like I did what I'm supposed to do. Like, please remove all the negativity from my life. That's more so where I go. Situations I was asking to be removed out of, I feel like right after I finished my fast, it just all came back and was like, okay, well, I thought like nothing, like I would be like able to coast from now on. It's like, no, you're still gonna be challenged regardless. So
I think when I've been like praying about it and like going to church and like listening to sermons about it, I feel like that's when you get the most spiritual.
And I remember you telling me that,
girl, you think that the devil is done with you. He said, oh, you thought you were taking another step closer to God, but actually, let me go take one step further.
And I think after noticing that, that's when I started to go into the sort of like indifference of things and kind of like not even trying to like, I don't think I'm tired. I'm just like not even trying to fight anything anymore. I'm just being content where I am, because I am truly happy. Like, I'm happy that I'm not as stressed as I was last year or doing as much as I was doing last year. Not like I'm in a different situation, so I'm happy, but also like there could be more.
But you're trying to be indifferent about it because you don't want to be like ungrateful.
And it's not like, I'm not like rushing to get anywhere. So I am just kind of in this in-between state right now. To where I don't really have any feelings about, well, I have feelings, but I'm just...
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think indifferent is the word. Like, you're just trying. If you can combine indifferent and content in one word, that would be, I feel like, how you're feeling. And that's how I'm trying to become. Because I feel like since my fast, actually what I noted in here was, for me, I've been struggling with the feeling of being condemned. For me, it's a matter of like, when I was fasting, I felt like I wasn't like praying consistently enough during it. I was so focused on the task of eating properly and feeling bad when I kind of failed on accident. Like one time I like licked a spoon that had yogurt on it, and I thought, oh no, it was like the first day. Like I was making my daughter a smoothie, and like I licked the yogurt, and it took me 10 seconds to realize, like, oh my gosh. But then I was talking about I was trying to cook for her, and I can't cook and like experiment and do different things, and like you can't cook and not taste the food. So I had to come to terms with that, and then I felt bad about that, and then after that I just felt like, well, you're not praying enough during the fast. And it just the longer, because I did the Daniel fast for 21 days. She did the legit Esther fast of no food, no water for 3 days. But I did the Daniel fast for 21 days, and I think after a while, like once I hit just past halfway through, it became very like kind of challenging. To the point where it was like, let me just get through this. I was more so focused on just getting through it than really focusing on praying and like getting closer to God. And I started to feel bad about that. And for me, I was like, dang, but this fast is for no reason. Like this isn't going to do anything for me because I'm not doing the things properly. I'm fasting, but I'm not praying enough. I'm still kind of failing with what I'm eating. And so you're doing this for no reason. So I struggle with like the feelings of condemnation, I guess, about like it's all a waste, and like God doesn't care. Not that he doesn't care what you're doing, but if you don't do it properly, nothing's gonna come of it. There will be no fruit.
Yeah, I think my first or second day, I accidentally put a stick of gum in my mouth and had to spit it out. I'm like, I don't even think I should be doing this.
I don't
little things like that.
I was like, this gum, because with the Daniel fast you can't have sugar, and gum always has sugar in it. So I was like, oh snap, no.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of backtracked even more after doing so good. Like once I was finished with the Esther fast, I feel like I was telling you, like I've been eating horrible like the past couple of weeks, like. And it's not like, because I know I finished, but I would want to still continue to do great things and still like have some sort of discipline, and I haven't been doing that. I feel like I almost got worse than what I was doing before. Or like even with reading the Bible consistently, I've been listening to like, I'll listen to the Bible stories on a podcast in the morning on my way to work, but not like, I haven't been really reading the Bible for myself. And I just feel like I really kind of backtracked, and I told you even, I think in a voice recording, that I was just like taking a break. But it's like I want to take a break, but still be heading somewhere. I don't know. And I feel like I just really instead of like, I feel like taking a break, you should be in one spot, like stuck in progress where you are, but I feel like I'm taking steps back almost. And
yes, I feel you. I feel like when you fast too, it's such a struggle to come out of the fast. Actually, I don't even know why. I remember seeing these videos. I think because you know what? The very last day of the Daniel fast I did, that last weekend, like the last day or two, were the hardest days. And I was like, is it just me or what? So I actually went to go look up like the last days of the Daniel fast, like is it the hardest, just to see it like on Reddit, to see what people were talking about. Of course I'm doing that instead of praying, so then I felt bad about doing that. But anyway, there were all these videos about how to properly end the Daniel fast, how to come out. And I was like, man, I'm sick of like, low-key it kind of irritated me, because not irritated me, but I didn't even want to look at those videos, because it kind of starts to be a turn-off when you see so many people give their own personal opinions of like, this is how you should. Well, Jesus never or did like the Bible. There's no proper way to end it. There honestly is no proper way for the amount of time or whatever you should be praying during the day. Or this and that. It's all between you and God. So when I saw those videos, I was like, what is she gonna do? Like, I gotta tell me to do. I gotta spin around and jump on my head 3 times. Like, what's the proper way to end the fast? So I didn't look at those videos, but then, now that I'm done with it, I kind of put off how difficult, not difficult, but somewhat difficult it will be to return to your normally scheduled program of life, and like your eating habits and your life and what you do. I kind of underestimated it. I was like, girl, you are on a roll. You haven't been able to have any sugar, no caffeine, no meat, no dairy. Like, you've been on it for like 3 weeks now. Like, once you can have whatever you want, like, you're gonna slowly ease back into it. Like, now the world is your oyster. You don't feel like you're missing out on so much. But I mean, I don't think I kind of dove back into it a little bit quick, but then I was saying too, I did feel like trash. Like I felt like complete trash going back. But also I was gonna say it. I think you kind of spoke with this too with your diet. I kind of felt like trash, like just physically, because now your body starts to feel heavier with what you're eating. But it kind of made me realize, like, because I was actually eating during the fast, like I was eating like all like whole grains and brown rice and lots of tofu and lots of chickpeas and lots of vegetables, that once I started to slowly incorporate like white breads and white rice and other things back in my diet, I could physically feel the difference of how I didn't feel good eating those foods. And that's the same way like what you're saying too, like you were eating certain foods and like you just physically you feel heavy. Yeah, so I think it's encouraged me to like change my diet for the good permanently, because honestly in my mind I've always just felt like, I mean, you can still balance and have things sometimes, but I think even though like if balance is 100%, like imagine like there's a scale of 100%, it doesn't have to be 50-50. Like people still say you should eat healthy like at least 70 or 80 or whatever percent of the time you want it to be. The balance is just what are you doing 100% of the time. Like it has to make sense for your body. And in my mind I'm like, I can eat white rice or this or that occasionally, but my body is like, girl, this fast low-key just showed me like you think that your body's being able to handle certain things, but once you really clean yourself up and then you expose yourself back to certain things, and it's not even just food, it's like certain other things, like certain music, certain shows you used to watch, when you cut off certain things and you think it's not harming you, then all of a sudden you kind of go back to it and you see like because I think you were doing that with music too sometimes.
And in the moment it feels great. It feels awesome to listen to the old songs I used to listen to. And after I just, and it's not something written in the Bible. It's not like
it's your own personal conviction.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good after. So I'm like, I shouldn't be doing it. It's not anything that anybody's telling me, but I just know because I don't feel good after doing these things that I shouldn't be doing it, no matter how good it feels in the moment.
For example, with me in the mornings, random. I like all last year and all previously, especially like I'm a morning person. If I'm driving to work in the morning, I enjoy listening to the radio, like the morning Chicago radio station. I love it. But like I know how in tune I want. Once you start to really want to be so in tune with God during your day, and you start to like crave that relationship, I know I could listen to it. And it's not a bad thing too, but I know how it sets the precedent for my day, and I started to feel more empty and more distracted throughout the rest of my day. And that's the thing. So sometimes I still do occasionally listen to it because they record it and they like put it on like the Apple Podcast app, like the whole show, the whole radio show. So sometimes occasionally midday, if I'm all re-upped on my Jesus, I've been listening to my worship, I've been praying, and sometimes every once in a while it's fine, so I'll do it then. But sometimes I have to set the intention of like, I really could listen to this, but sometimes I need to just drive in silence and listen to God, or I need to listen to a sermon. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm like you said, it's not written in the Bible, thou shalt not listen to secular music or secular radio show. That's not what it is. But everybody just has their own personal convictions. Even like I said with makeup, I watched this one girl, for her cutting out almost all makeup, like for her, that's what the Lord needed to do for her. But there are certain Christians that like do a whole full beat face, and that doesn't affect them and their walk, because it's what affects you. Because for some people it makes them more vain. It's you're covering up too much with your makeup, and for other people it's like it's fine if that's not the battle that they're fighting. Everybody's fighting their own battles, and we're all fighting this spiritual warfare. We're all fighting it in different ways, so like you have to figure out what you're fighting and like the best way to
and it's small steps too. It's definitely like small steps, because I notice even now, like I always thank God, but I'll do it even more. Like even when I'm listening to secular music or things I shouldn't be listening to, like I just thank God even more throughout the day, or I'll stop and think about God or talk to God even more. So I know all the steps I've taken so far, even though I don't feel like I've gotten super far with not listening to secular music at all. Like I'm still getting closer to God with each step. So even though I don't feel like I'm making the progress I should be making, or that I'm failing because I haven't cut it out completely, the fact that I'm incorporating God even more into into my day, I feel like it's already me making progress. And I can say that out loud, and I still like feel like sometimes that I'm
100%.
failing, but I know in the back of my mind I'm getting closer and closer. So
And
that's the whole point of it all.
And that's all God is going to ask you to answer for when you get there, is how you, like, He's not going to compare you to Mother Teresa, like, and be like, well, did you reach that level? Like, and everybody, again, like, you can put Mother Teresa on this level, but we're all on different levels. But, like, if this person's on this level and, like, you're on this level, but it's like we're all on our own individual playing field. So
that so much lately. Like, I feel like when you answer to God, it's gonna be more so like open-ended versus like multiple choice where like A is correct, Mother Teresa's where you should have been. Like, it's not like that. I feel like it's just, it should be open-ended.
Yes, we're all like running our own race, and like He knows in your mind, and we've all been exposed to different things. There's some people, like, at least me and you grew up with a concept of God. There's some people who grew up with atheists as parents, or like you grew up with. So like, how can He put me on the same playing field as an atheist? Like, if we all died tomorrow, like He's not going to be like, well, my cat over here playing with the toy.
Yes.
He's not going to be like, well, you know, you atheist here, you weren't praying. Like He's going to be like, I know what I put in your heart, and you knew the wink that you were ignoring that I was giving to you. That's all. I think God is only answering. He's only going to ask you about the personal winks that He gave to you in your heart, and if you ignored that step. Because for an atheist, maybe He put a friend in your life that wanted to bring you to church, and for some reason you felt a pull to do it, but maybe laziness was holding you back, and that's all He wanted you to do. All you needed to do was take the first step and say yes. That's all He expected from you. But He knows that you were saying that's the only step God was expecting from you. He wasn't expecting you to go out and do all these things and be Mother Teresa. Like, we're all on our different levels, and that's why you can't compare yourself to others. But at the same time, I'm the same as Taylor, because I will tell someone else in a minute, like, no matter what you do, God will always love you. There's nothing you can do to separate yourself. But then meanwhile, me, I'm like,
for
girl,
yourself, you just judge yourself so hard.
You've been separated. God don't even care about, not He don't care about you, but He's so irritated with you. He's so tired of telling you the same things over and over again. That's how I feel. So I be struggling in my mind.
Do you feel like you've reached any of the goals that you wanted to with your fast? Because I feel like even before the fast, I've just been talking about, like, I guess I have been talking about not being indifferent, but I said I just wanted to, like, not complain as much and have more peace, and I have reached that goal, sort of. I guess that's what the indifference is, the peace that I have, because I'm not complaining as much. But yeah, do you feel like you've reached anything?
You want to go deep right now? Ooh.
Yeah, let's do it. Do I? Yes, I do. Let's do it.
I think I actually just kind of realized it today. Part of one thing that I was thinking a lot about was what I told you about, like, being like insecure about like myself, and just me wanting God to take away gluttony from me. And not to say that I'm like super overly gluttonous, like with what I'm eating, but just the feeling of being hungry all the time. And because like when you're trying to like lose weight, and I realized like what I have been doing, and this is just one thing that I was fasting about. There were other things, there's a few things, and I'll talk about the other things too, but specifically with this one, I think I was so focused on like weight loss and why am I such a yo-yo dieter? Why do I struggle so much with this? Why am I so obsessed with this? And I do want to say one thing that I did realize that I have to take ownership of, but it's a problem of others, but it's something I have to take ownership of. It's just that part of what makes it difficult for me to not care what other people think is that you can act like how you say, like, you can see people looking at you. Like, if you gain, like, it would be one thing for me to let it go myself. But when you have people who are like close to you, who are actively looking at you all the time, like how you look and how your body looks, and you know every time you turn around they may be looking at how your butt looks or how your back, and it's just that when I'm actively trying to work on forgetting it, you can't stop looking at other people, and that has been hard for me. But I have to take ownership of the fact that I can't care about what other people think.
Because their thoughts too are like so brainwashed and like they're lost themselves. Because it can change from like generation to generation. It can change from where you grew up at, like what state. Like it just depends on or their parents, how they were raised. Because I know back in the day, like everybody was obsessed with being so skinny and dieting was very popular. And now, like, or I think at least, like with the Southern culture and with rap music and different things, like we got into like wanting thick girls. Like it became cute almost. And then so it just depends on the era, the time. There was a point where everybody wanted these huge like BBL bodies, and now people are taking out their like shots and all that stuff. So it just depends.
It really does. And then like I'm basing my opinion on that.
Yeah.
Not my opinion, but I think it just bothered me to know
It does.
that other people are like actively like looking at you as you turn around or you do whatever.
Yeah.
But that's one thing. But then I feel like there's a I forgot who, but there's a go ahead.
Sorry to stop you there, but I don't know if you feel the same way, but it feels kind of it can happen if it's a good comment or bad, but it's almost hurtful sometimes when people are not looking at your soul or who you are on the inside.
Don't get me
sorry.
No, I'm not
it hurts me. Like, oh, you're looking at my like this capsule of a like you're not looking at like
and
me who I know me.
And I want to say like with Taylor being my best friend, like it bothers me the most because Taylor is very, very pretty. And I know, but I say that in the sense where like people like you are so not vain at all. Like you take pride in how you look. Yeah. But you also don't take pride in it where it means that much to you. And the sense where like remember when this is random. Remember when we were you came and you took me to pick up my car and it was I can see this guy like Taylor's in her own world. Like
because I have to be because it's so like
she's not actively paying attention to like she can be in a room with a man that finds her attractive and she doesn't even notice that he's finding her attractive because that's not on her mind at all because she's not superficial like that. She doesn't think about those things. And so the guy was just like so uppity and uncomfortable and she didn't even notice him.
That's the thing, like what if I was the craziest person he ever met? It's so that's not okay. That's not healthy. I could be the weirdest person. Well, I probably am, but still I think the weirdest person you ever met. Like, why would you just go off of that? I don't like.
But I mean, it's the first impression.
Yeah, that's true. I know as a human, that's what you see. But still,
and that's what I'm saying. When people don't look at your soul, but for me, to me, that bothers me more with the action things. Like people will assume something about you, but I've showed you who I am my whole life, and all of a sudden like you just want to jump to one conclusion, and I've gone out of my way to be nice to you and this and that, but because I look like this or I'm not smiling or I'm indifferent, I look indifferent, I talk very monotone, I don't smile as much as Taylor does, and so that I don't know what that means.
She will give you 10 times more than I will, so actually go with Abby.
She gives you the smile, but like then I give you the conversation. So, but you put us together, then you got probably the person you were looking for. But separate, you don't want either one of us apparently. But yeah, it bothers me so much too. Like I said, when people don't, it's almost like common sense to me. It's like get to know a human soul. It doesn't, and even though it bothers me more when it's people who you've known over years, and then they just jump to a conclusion and they get pissed off at you over no reason, and it's like, but don't you even know who I am? Like you don't even know my, or you're busy looking at me or how I'm shaped or what I'm looking like.
I'm like, I thought you were happy to see me, but we're going over like how I look right now. Okay, that's so strange.
So that's something basically I have to take ownership for. All that to say, I just need to take ownership of not being so concerned with how people look at me, but I also need to take ownership of there's a verse in the Bible where I forgot who it was, and I'm so sorry, but where I'm gonna look it up before because I know it's
take your time. I'll talk while you look it up.
I know the verse is about like when God says my grace is sufficient for you, and it was let's do the Bible, not the plans. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Paul. Paul, I think basically like, he had a thorn. A thorn. So this is 2 Corinthians chapter 12. verse 7, I guess. But basically he talked about having a thorn in his side, and he was asking God to take the thorn out of his flesh. And after says, a thorn was given me in the flesh, a messenger of Satan to harass me, to keep me from being conceited. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord about this, that it should leave me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. So basically it's you not arguing, but you pleading with God, can you please take this away from me? Can you please take this away? And every time you ask God, can you take this person away from me? And God's like, I've given you all that you need in this situation. Like, you think that you need me to completely take this person out, but I've done I've gotten you this far, and what you think you need me to take away, this is it. Like, you have to go the rest of the way. Like, my grace is sufficient for you. And like he said, my power is made perfect in weakness. If none of us were weak, then none of us would need God. So again, he's showing you, like, I've taken you this far. So with me and like my gluttony, I feel like that's kind of where I've gotten to, where he's like, I've taken you as far as I can take you, and you need to take responsibility for certain things.
Here's another thing. Do you find comfort in that? Like, when you, I guess when you feel like you're being gluttonous, do you find comfort in what you're doing? Is that why? Because when you read that Bible verse, it reminded me of situations that I go through where I feel like I need God to, like you said, completely remove something. But it's also situations where I find comfort, so I know I'm not doing my complete part because I'm going back in directions I shouldn't. Without saying too much, I'm going to say just enough. But I go back because there's comfort somewhere in there. And
also, Stephanie, my girl Stephanie EK, Pastor Stephanie EK Okafor at One Church in LA, she was talking about that in her modernization of witchcraft series she did on her YouTube channel. Check it out. And she was talking about how she wanted God to take away like her desire for partying, her desire for this, and then she was like, but you like it though, right? And she was like saying, she took ownership of that. She was like, I was praying for God to take away certain things, but she was like, but I liked it. I like clubbing. I like going to parties, and I'm praying for God to just take it away. Right. But at the end of the day, it's like something. I thought about it when she said that. I was like, girl, when you were overeating that night, you enjoyed it though. Yeah. And that's when she was like, you have to realize that you need to love God more than you love that sin. Because gluttony is a sin. If you're going out and being a drunkard, that is a sin. Like, you have to love God more, and then the yoke will be completely broken. And the other part of that for me is I do have to take ownership of that and realize, I'm going to look this up too, where it talks about, I was listening to another sermon, but the fruits of the Spirit. But before that, it talks about like what is sin. And it actually talks about how envy is a sin. And I think, Mark, maybe it's going to be, It's so sad, girl. For from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, which is also envying, but wickedness, deceit, sensuality, and envy. Which is crazy because that slapped me when it said envy, because it's like, how could the Bible, and this is Mark chapter 7, by the way, and this is verse like 21. You talk about sexual immorality, of course. Theft, of course. Murder, terrible. Adultery, why would you do that? But to put deceit, of course. Foolishness, no one wants to be. But to put like envy in the same sentence as being a sin with murder, like I realize like how much I envy people, and it is bad. Like looking at people and I guess you could say coveting, but coveting I feel like is more so like when you desire like to have a person you don't have, or an item, physical thing. But like envy is like, girl, I didn't think about envy really being a sin.
This is something that I pray for, honestly, because we didn't record this, but I believe it was the last time we recorded. Right before I left, we were just talking about everything that's really been bothering us, and I really broke down in that moment because I was explaining how much relationships mean to me beyond like beyond like boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, like beyond that, anybody that I talk to and find comfort in, that becomes my friend, because I don't do that with a lot of people. So they really become my all. So I really was praying for like to find genuine people in my life that are like, yeah, just genuine, like who are real, like how I'm being real with people, like not hiding anything, just being who they truly are, finding people, and not to put myself on a pedestal because I'm not perfect, but I just want to find people like me, who like, even if like if I don't like somebody, I want that to be clear. Like if you don't like me, I want you to be clear and say that. But it's when it becomes like hidden, like people have hidden agendas with you and things like that, like it just really, it can turn into something horrible. There's people out there, and I know we've discussed this too, like beyond like witchcraft, there's people who will like switching destinies. People will try to, like when you're jealous of somebody, they will try like just to have the negative thoughts in your mind to want anything or to envy anything that somebody has. You can turn that into like, I don't know, you can ruin somebody else's life with feeling so negatively about them. And people do that. There are witches out there, there are negative people out there that will try to take what you have in any way they can. Let's like, and I don't know, there's just so much wrong that can come from envy and things like that. It can't be like something small. There are times when it's like a little thing, or like when you're younger, even like just wanting, oh, this person has a nice bike. Like it can start out small and it can start with little things, but there's people that take that very far.
Nip it in the bud.
Exactly.
That's why I thought it was
far.
Crazy, but I'm gonna speak on it. But like when I thought people talk about horoscopes, that is why it's not a good thing. It starts off as, oh, I'm a Gemini, I'm this and that, but that spirals out of control to like, what's my birth chart? What is this? What does this sun and moon say about me? Well, it says I should do this. The Bible, like, and the thing about it is, when you really sit down, because that was me, but then when you really sit down and think about where are these things coming from, it's like, who is the universe? Why are you just saying, but do you believe it comes from God? Okay, but what do you really believe in? Do you believe in the Bible, or do you believe in the Quran or whatever? Like, you need to pick your religion and like pick what it is, and stop like just doing like the floating through like the new age practices, because you don't really know what you're standing for. You're just going through things that people created, and then it just goes down. It's like, well, like I was doing, what's my Enneagram? Oh, I'm doing the horoscope, and then it's like, where's the line? Because then I was like, well, let me seek out a medium, or like spirit guys, angel numbers. Like, where is it ending? Where are all these things coming from? So it starts off innocent of like, oh, I relate to my Gemini sisters, but then it's innocent. It starts off as, oh, I'm envious of your bike, or you have a bigger house than me.
Right.
But then that envy for me, it turns into like bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger
and
things.
That's where the problem comes from.
And I will say the spiritual warfare for me, I think this past week, well, you know what I will say? It became more aware to my mind, I think, in the past month, that like I will look at other girls and like I will envy like what they look like and wishing that I could look that way. But I really wasn't aware of it, that how often I do it, until I think I fasted. And then I think lately, especially being in the same, like when you go to work, like I work in a very small space, so like I hear a lot of the same people, and because my schedule is like the same and I see the same people, and you start to have the same thoughts about the same people and the same interactions, it just became more aware in my brain of how toxic it was. So again, I'm fasting for God to take away gluttony, but he's really just showing me, okay, that is one thing, that's an issue, but my grace is sufficient for you there, but you need to see how much deeper it is for you, and like you're so focused on man-made opinions, and then again, it's like, all this is for what? Like, it's so fleeting, and like you're so focused on the way you look, and all that's just like, it doesn't, one is so fleeting, it doesn't even matter. You're never going to achieve the perfect thing that you want to achieve or what you want to look like. And you just have to be happy with the season that you're in, I think, and accept your body for the war it's gone through, the war scars you have, or whatever that might be. Like getting pregnant and having a baby. Like your body is never going to look the same as what it was. But then I surely can't envy some girls whose body just magically seems to go back. But then it's like, why does that matter? Because I told, that's another thing too. When I was listening to a podcast Off the Record, this girl, they were talking about how they both actually had lost their fathers, and when they were both very close to their fathers, and like they're not sisters but they're friends, and they both lost their fathers. And when you watch somebody so close to you pass away, they were both in college when their dads passed away. You die, and you die with nothing. Like, what does all that stuff matter?
Right.
You got a 6-pack before you died. You ain't have no stretch marks when you died. Good for you. Like, what? None of that stuff. It matters for the sense of you glorifying God for taking care of your body the best way you can. But if you're envious because, like, you're starving yourself and, like, you're doing all these things and yo-yo dieting and you're getting all these surgeries and you're coveting and you're envy, like, all that for achieving something, like, that's not even that serious. Like, the whole goal of this life is to just please God the best you can, and to do the best you can with the gifts He gave you, and that's it. Versus me focusing on, like, God, but if I could just lose these pounds, that would be great. And that's why, again, when I see people, like, showing off their bodies and their beach bodies, it's like,
that's not what we're gonna talk about at your funeral. That's not what we're gonna say.
And then I started to realize, when you put so much emphasis on it, when you lose it, you don't realize how much it meant to you and how it will affect your mental health and cause you to become envious and you to become sad when you don't have those things anymore. When your body changes, like, you put so much emphasis on what you look like now. That's why overall it's just about taking care of your body in general. It's not about, like, losing weight to look a certain way in a certain amount of time. Because then again, I think it was Pastor Stephanie that said it too, was like, you're trying to hurry up and get to the next phase just because more so you're embarrassed of where you are now, and you're trying to prove something to yourself and others, versus just accepting where you are and being okay with it. Like, for me, why are you took all these years to gain this weight, you've been treating yourself like crap all these years. What's the rush to, like, drop 50 pounds now? Like, why do you need to do it now? Because you have to prove something to yourself, prove something to other people, prove, like, what are you trying to prove at the end of the day? Like, you're just running your race, you're doing the best you can. If you die tomorrow and you're still 100 pounds overweight, like, did you do better? Did you repent that sin of being gluttonous, and, like, that last 24 hours you lived, did you do better? That's really all that matters, you know what I mean?
Right.
So,
and you really just have to find the root of the problem. Like, even for me, it's like, I notice with, like, shopping, it's not really, like, physically going into stores anymore, but, like, online shopping, for some reason, that, like, gives me that adrenaline rush.
Me, it's Target.
Yes, like, we all have our little thing, and, like, on my days off, I notice too, when I'm sitting alone in my thoughts, I'll get on, like, TikTok shop, I'll get on anything I can do to have that quick rush. But I'm like, there's a root to this problem, and the little bit of satisfaction, I'm like, okay, if I just get my basic wardrobe together, I'll never really have to shop it again. If I just have these, like, core pieces that I need, I always tell myself I need these, like, basic pieces that are just gonna do it for me, and I'm gonna be so satisfied. No, I see something else. Have a plan now. What?
We should all do matching pajamas.
Okay.
And you should pick them out.
Okay.
It's
No, I'm supposed to not be.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But this is for a purpose, okay?
This is a purpose. We're doing matching pajamas for Christmas. You have to pick out Mia's pajamas.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So,
sorry. Disregard. We're not doing that. Spiritual warfare. We won't do that.
But yes, I just go through, like, okay, after this last purchase, I won't need anything else, and I just keep doing it again and again. It's like there's something deeper, like there's a root to that problem, and I just have to figure it out. And it's just a satisfaction that it gives me right now, and I just need to stop.
Yes,
yeah.
100%. I guess, yeah. But God didn't really came on me with that when He said, "My grace is sufficient for you," and you actually like this stuff. But that envy, girl, that envy really, like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. That I realized that I didn't realize how toxic envy is, and I didn't realize that how, like I said, looking at it in the same sentence with, like, murder, adultery, all that stuff, it just kind of blew my mind that I need to focus on that more so than, like, the the focusing on my weight and
Yeah.
stuff, which again also I still need to work on myself. There's some things I do need to work on, but I also wasn't aware of these other things.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about fasting. I've come to realize that like you're fasting about one thing, but God will bring something else to your mind. And then just for me specifically, the other things that I think I'm more so becoming indifferent about with, I think, yeah, for me, just like clarity on my career and stuff like that and what I'm supposed to do. But like I told Taylor, actually, that's another, oh man, we should do a whole separate video on this one. But just the, I've always cried wolf on being a stay-at-home mom. But I came to realize that, not that I still don't want to do it, because I do. But I didn't realize until a few days ago how I don't covet it, but how much I lean on the stability of having a job, and how unknown and uncertain it is to not have a stable job. I think it's the difference of like, I've always said like I don't want to have to go clock in somewhere, but then clocking in somewhere is for certain. Like it's for certain that you're gonna have this paycheck. It's for certain you will have this pension and 401k. Like it's also certain.
Yeah.
And then you're really going into the uncertain when you're like doing what we're trying to do.
I feel like last year I could relate to that a little bit more when I had my like salary job and when I was doing well for myself. For a single woman, I feel like I was doing pretty good, and it was so hard for me to make the job from like since I graduated. I've been with the company that I was with, so pretty much like 7 years, and I thought I would never be able to jump and leave this I thought I would be with them till, I guess, retirement. I don't know what I was thinking when I first graduated, but it wasn't like I wanted to be an entrepreneur always, but like I wasn't as serious about it as I am now, and I wasn't as, I don't know, something lately just changed in my body to where I don't feel like, I feel like I'm going against the grain going to work now. So I didn't have that strong of a feeling when I first graduated, so I just thought I was going to be with the company forever. So when I made that huge, well, for me it was a huge leap to go into the career that I'm in now, or not career, but the job that I'm working now, it was a huge leap, and that's a time where I feel like I could relate a little bit more to like feeling like doing the next thing would be a big jump. But now,
yeah, you're like, I'm here now. I jumped. Kelly's
jumped.
looking up at me like, so when are you coming down here?
I was just telling you the other day, like the way I spend some time, you would think I had like a part, like you would think there was a more like put together plan than what I have, but I just be like, God,
if God
you
don't
got
do
me.
it won't get
gotta
done.
do it, okay? Because
I think, I realized it was honestly because of her, because she was coming up with all these different entrepreneurial ideas, and then it made me really evaluate how uncertain those things are, and then I was like, oh my gosh, like if I really quit my job, there's really nothing for certain. But then I did come to realize like I'm a nurse, so like thankfully and I mean honestly, you were in retail, so she always has the option to go back to her if you ever were like down and out and you ain't have not nan penny left. She always had she has the opportunity to go back if she ever needed to. But you see the look on her face, you won't even think about that. And for me as well, like if I decided, for me, I kind of decided like, I guess I'm at the point where I realized I know what I want now, and that's why I was saying when I was listening to Off the Record as well, they were saying, the ladies were saying how you can have it all but not all at the same time. And I think for me, I can't have the stability of a career and be able to pour into my like family as I would want them, as I would want to. Like I have one kid, I want to have more, like one or two more kids, and for me, I really want to be able to pour into them and be there for them and not feel like I'm tied to a job for like the super young years of my kid's life. Like I just don't like that. So I can't have the feeling of the stability of a career while I'm also feeling this pull to be home with my kids. And I thought about it like, okay, even if, because that's what my mom did. I realized with me and my brother's 2 years older than me and I'm 29. And my mom is a nurse, and she did not work until we were both in preschool. So like she took a few years off and then she went back. And I was thinking I can do something like that too, because it's just, like I said, when you die, you take none of this stuff with you. But what you do take is like the impact you make. What you leave is the impact you have on your family, and like how, like that's what matters to me, not how much money I made, not my career. all that stuff. So yeah, I think that was something that I was praying about, but I still don't quite know 100% the clarity on that, but with my career, but yeah.
I think the closer you get to your goal to, the more you're going to hear doubt. You're going to feel like you shouldn't be doing it, because the closer you get to leaping, there's going to be, like, if you're hitting the right goal, you don't want it to be this way, and you feel like the closer you get to God that you won't have these feelings, but there's still negativity that'll try to tell you, like, well, what if this happens? You shouldn't be doing that because of this. And it's just because you are getting close to leaping, and somebody or something is always going to make you feel like, well, if you do that, this and that'll happen, when in reality
none of that stuff typically really happens. So,
and,
and even if it does, it's
make a way for you either way.
Yeah. So yeah, that was something else I was fasting about. I forgot. How did you get me to go all deep? I forgot what the question was. You said.
Oh, I was asking, like, if you felt like you hit any of your goals.
Oh yeah, you just hit my goal, and then I go down my spiritual rabbit hole. But yeah, that's just my brain and where I've been at. But man, that word envy has been heavy on me since. Yeah, it's been heavy on me, especially since, like, it is just the strangest timing. Because to be honest, what's crazy is, like, I told you before, you've seen it, you know. So, like, my husband, like, recently lost a lot of weight. And then everybody be looking at him like, ooh, boy, look at what you done did. And then they be looking at me like, oh, okay. Or I think one time, people be just saying the most random things. Like, I was eating a salad. Actually, you know what? I was eating a salad because I was doing the that was one of the last days I was doing the Daniel fast. And I feel like somebody noticed that I was eating a salad. And I feel like I wasn't boasting that I was doing that. But they were just like, I think they thought I was eating the salad because I was trying to lose weight. And that really wasn't the case. Yeah. And I felt them like, oh yeah, I see you, girl, what you trying to. And I was like, I'm not like trying to lose weight. I'm just trying to be obedient because I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this. And I really want, and I swear what's so crazy about it was, I was like, God, I really won't even, because I was actually low-key kind of hungry, and it was the worst I think the only salad they had on the menu, like, I didn't even want to go out to eat, but I had to eat that day with my family, because you can't just cancel your whole life. That's the point. You're supposed to incorporate this into your life, your real life. And the only salad they had was this random raggedy Caesar salad. Yeah, I had to be like, let me get a Caesar, hold the cheese, hold the chicken, hold the Parmesan, just give me the iceberg lettuce, and that's it. Yeah. And then I was just like eating basically rabbit food, and they were like, "Look at," but they didn't. Of course, they're gonna notice that. Of course, they noticed that, and but again, I have to take ownership of that because that person could have not even been thinking something, but I feel like I know they were. But then they all, girl, they'd be quick to be like, "Ooh, you got all," not to me, but to my husband, they're like, "Ooh, you got all skinny and stuff." But it gets in your brain sometimes, and it's that envy and what I have to take ownership of in my own brain. But even low-key yesterday, the people who I told you I was with yesterday, they noticed too about him Duvall, and it's just like constantly, and then they'll do oh yeah, you too, Abigail, and I'm just like, okay, it's been the story of my life. I'm gonna end it because I know this video is probably super long, but this is me going back to my childhood trauma story time of this girl, and it's so crazy that God's putting this story in my brain right now, but when I was like, I was never like super obese or overweight when I was a kid. There were the girls, honestly, like people would compare me to people like Taylor. Like you were petite when you were younger. And if you didn't grow up and you were super, either they talked about you because you were too skinny or you weren't skinny enough. So like I wasn't skinny enough and Taylor was too skinny. So, but then I was around people who were very skinny. And there was actually a woman, I think I told you that story, that was like, look, honestly, like, which is so crazy to think about, this grown woman. Like, I was sitting at a breakfast. It was like Sunday after church. We were at someone's house having breakfast, and they were commenting on how beautiful a lot of the young ladies looked. And this woman was like, "Oh yeah, you look good, and you look good, and Abigail, you look okay." Like I could tell she hesitated because I didn't look like the other girls, and I was just like, and then my friend, the girl I was with, like thought that was so funny, and she just like almost fell out of her chair laughing at it. And I think since then I've always, and I know people have always like looked at me different. And again, I did ballet my whole life, like from basically the age of 5 to 18 years old. and I was always around girls who are very, very petite. And you're in the ballet world, and I was not very, very petite, so that made me feel very, very obese when I wasn't. So I just have had like a very disproportionate relationship with my body and food my whole life, and it's just spiraled constantly out of control to like still finding comfort in food still sometimes, because even being a nurse, that is my reward. That was my reward when I would work a 12-13 hour shift. I'm going, and then I didn't get to eat. Somehow I'm like, how am I not eating all day at my shift, but I'm still gaining weight? Oh, that's because you eating Culver's right before you go to bed every day. Like that's why. Yeah.
And I feel like too, all young girls go through some form of like, and I'm pretty sure young men too, but you go through some form of like being judged and compared to your friends, which is really sad. But even as a woman of color, I can say like it goes from body type, and then it depends on, like I said, the era. It could be a point in time where everybody's supposed to be skinny, and then like everybody's supposed to be thick. So it just, nothing's ever right. It can be complexion being compared to hair type. Like it's just so much.
Do you look like you're kind of mixed?
Right, like it's just so like silly, and so much pressure put on you to be this and that, to be put in a certain box, and it's like never the right box anyway. You just have to let it go. And honestly, I think that's where, I know you were talking about like how I'll walk into a room and just like act like nobody's there. It's honestly kind of like a defense, because I just don't like being
judged by how you look. Yeah.
So I just try to ignore everything that's going on, because it's so silly to just constantly, like, people will find anything on you. And I know it's a human thing too, to like, you're supposed to recognize patterns, recognize certain things and details and things like that. Like, at one point there was a purpose in that, but now people just use it to be silly and to judge you for no reason and to compare you to the next person. It's just, honestly, it's just too much sometimes, and things shouldn't be that way, but they are. So you do have to find your own peace and not focus on comparing yourself and judging yourself and things like that, because it just can go.
And I will say, like, the last thing I'll say about it is, like, even me, one day I was just walking Mia down the street, and I know how you mean, because I'm not going to sit here and say I'm ugly and don't nobody ever hit on me, which is not true. This one guy, like, saw me walking Mia, and he was just like, I could be a good stepdaddy on the ghetto streets of Chicago. I ain't gonna lie. But then it's like, you really just looked at me, and basically what you wanted was to have sex with me. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
And it's not really, you don't even know why. And I get what you mean, where, like, people could look at it like, oh my God, Taylor, look at all these guys that think you're attractive. But I know what it feels like when you just feel like you're being sexualized constantly, and you're just trying to exist. Versus, but it's a difference. Like, it's okay to find someone beautiful. We find guys attractive all the time, but it's like you can tell when they take it to a whole nother level of like, just, it's constant sexualization of everything.
It's like literally all physical, like basic, like first layer, like you're not even getting to know someone at all, and it's just,
it makes you very uncomfortable. So all that to say, I'm trying to heal my relationship with my body, and I feel like that's been the answer, because I feel like God had just been putting that verse in my brain constantly, my grace is sufficient for you, and I feel it heavy, like heavy, because I also know there's certain things that I can do to be better, so it's not like I'm completely handicapped and I've been doing everything I can to have the best. No, I'm guilty of certain things too. But
I'm guilty as well. Count one, guilty. For sure.
No.
Have you seen those videos?
I watched it live.
Guilty.
Count two. Yeah, not right after this election too.
It's so sad. Yeah. So I do have to take accountability.
Yes, for how I am. Yeah, I do. So yeah, that was an interesting, because I tell you, I was just so sick of it. Like, I was so sick of being sick and tired. But at the same time, I know I will be like over it and sick and tired of being sick and tired. But then I fall back into the same trap, and it's just, I don't get it. And God is like, look, that thorn you want me to take away, my grace is sufficient. And I'm just like, are you sure? Yeah. Because you're God, and if you really wanted to, you could just take away my whole appetite, and I'd be just fine.
Right?
You
Make it easy for me. Just do what you do. Okay, do it just for me.
Because sometimes you know how, like, I almost, in a weird way, like, you know when God kind of prompts you to do something, And you liked it that you did it.
Yeah.
In my mind, sometimes I'm like, God, see, you kind of made me do that, and I
Yeah.
like being controlled by you
Yeah.
actually. And I know you gave me this thing called free will, but I already chose you, and I'm just kind of struggling down here on
Right.
earth with the flesh. So you can just take away the flesh and just completely control me and make me do it.
Yes.
I would love that, but no, God's
Yes.
like, actually, I want you to be a soldier. And I'm like, but I'm not a soldier.
Right.
I just want to be your puppet, God.
Right.
Just you do everything for me, but God made us soldiers and not puppets.
Yes.
So yeah, we down here fasting and trying to figure it out. Thank
we'll
you so
see
much
you guys
for watching.
next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye, girl.